Test.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
Former Win for over 4 months now.
Part of the Formal Win community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
Michael DeLay.
Forwin for over 4 months
Part
now.
of the Formal Win community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
Forwin for over 4 months
Part
now.
of the Formula One community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today, and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
All right, everybody, welcome to day 2 of the Secrets to Networking. Super happy to be here with you guys. If you guys stayed tuned in yesterday, we had some awesome things we went over. The recording is posted. Feel free to watch that, review it. It's an action plan, and it's a really detailed analysis of things you guys can do every single day or every single week to get ahead. This is such an awesome experience, you guys. I know everybody watching is looking to grow, learn, you're eager to get hungry and just develop. And I'm super grateful to just be here with everybody to make sure that you guys are learning, growing, and accomplishing the goals that you're looking to achieve. So guys, we're going to get started with a bunch of different things here. It's going to be an awesome day. It's going to be an awesome time where we're going to really just dive deep into the secrets of networking. We do have a packed agenda. We're going to be covering some things we talked about yesterday, continuing with the different modules, and we're just going to keep rocking and cruising, guys. So we're going to get started in just a few minutes, and we're going to rock and roll. So stay tuned, guys. I want you guys to go ahead and put in the chat some different lessons that you learned from yesterday, and we're going to get started in just a second. I'm waiting for the chat, guys. What we got? What did we learn from yesterday? What did we learn from yesterday? Well, I'll give you guys some time to reflect on that. We are going to go on ahead and rip into this. Again, guys, I want you guys to stay with me for today. This is going to be a really packed lesson plan. So we're going to get started with the relationship ladder. So this is module 7. Yesterday we covered modules 1 through 6. This is the relationship ladder. And again, the goal here is secrets to networking. If you missed yesterday or the other lessons, I want you guys to go back, take some notes, go through it, and we're going to really rock and roll here. We're just diving deep into this. So I want to make sure you guys are all set. Okay, we're good to go. Let's go on ahead and get started here. So the relationship ladder. This is going to be a step-by-step system to build real professional relationships. You guys need to treat your careers like a business. We talked about this yesterday, guys, but it's really critical. It's just such an important thing to do, day in and day out, to make sure that you guys are just maximizing every opportunity and every interaction. And relationships are something you need to build with every single person you come in contact with. Maybe this is something that, the people that you run into, not every single person is going to work out this way, but you need to have the intent of making the most of every situation. And the intent of making the most of every situation is by building proper relationships. So this is the 4-1 relationship ladder. We're going to go over how we hold our clients accountable and how we teach them to build proper relationships. This has worked in multiple scenarios. This is just how this works. There's different ways to do this, to be creative and be your unique self. And I encourage everybody to go on ahead and do that. But the biggest thing that I want you guys to do is just take a few things away from now and just make sure you apply it. So what are some things that are going to pop into your head when it comes to relationship ladder? I want you guys to just pause on that, think about that. Let me know what's coming to the top of your head here. Maybe it's, actual relationships, intimacy, or it's actual business relationships, partnerships, maybe your professor relationship, how you guys are, interacting in terms of, if you guys have a good relationship to get good grades, whatever the case may be, right? And what is the ladder? What does that even mean, right? So we're going to go over it. It's a step-by-step relationship to get to the top of the ladder. So let's go ahead and dive deep into this here. So I want you guys to move 3 people up the ladder. So your job today, and the big thing with moving 3 people up the ladder, is taking 3 people currently in your life. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a professor, whatever it is right now. I want you guys to take those people and move them up this ladder. So we're going to be going over the things below. This is the ladder: awareness to light engagement to conversation to ongoing relationship. So that's how we do this. That's the ladder. We're going to break down each step. Simple, but it's a little bit more complex than that. So your homework here, one of the biggest ones out of today is going to be filled of less actions than the previous modules. But the module, or the move 3 people up the ladder, some of you guys can really do today, right? Especially during Thanksgiving week, or just whenever the time is that you're watching this. The big thing that you guys are really going to want to take a look at is moving these people up the ladder wherever they're at. Okay, are they in the awareness stage? Are you guys having conversations? Are you guys having ongoing relationships? And you need to redo all this and then become aware and rework through it. So again, this is something that we work with all of our clients on. And this is something you can really just index and put into a formula to make sure that every person you run into and every person you're having a relationship with and you're engaging and developing, you're moving them through this process. So your homework out of today is to move 3 people up this ladder. Identify these people. Is it a mentor? Is it a professor? Is it a person you're interviewing with? Is it a previous interview that you want to follow back up with? Is it someone you just followed on LinkedIn? Who is it? Is it me? Is it another leader? Is it another person? Who is it? What is it? And I need you guys to really pay attention to that and dive deep into that. So we're going to move on to the next slide here. Stage 1 and 2, awareness to light engagement. So the biggest thing here, guys, is you need to become aware of, who it is that we're talking to. What do they like? What do they do? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Can we tell? Do they have Instagram? Are they active on LinkedIn? You guys need to do a little bit of homework here. And then we're going to talk about a CRM and some of the later modules here. But the biggest thing is make sure you're aware of some different things about them and start jotting that stuff down and being aware of it. The last thing you guys want to do is get on a conversation with someone and, there's something that's really apparent that they love to do, and then you don't know exactly what it is, right? So with that said, you guys need to become aware, get some light engagement on their LinkedIn. Typically, if they're active on LinkedIn, that's the biggest thing that you guys can do. Like their posts, comment something meaningful, share value, become familiar, not random. So that's the biggest thing, right? You guys don't want to just go on, comment on their posts if they're posting or resharing something, and you don't want it to just be something blank, like let's go, and that's it, right? You want to add some value. Take note of it as well. This is where you add some notes in your CRM, but you're taking notes maybe on a note sheet, whatever the case is, right? I'm definitely encouraging you guys to take notes during this lesson as well. If you guys don't write anything, you're not going to retain it. If you don't write it, you don't retain it. So make sure you guys are doing that this entire time. And then as we're going through this, a big thing that I like to do when I take notes, you guys might do this during, school lessons or whatever the case is, but You might think of some different things that go through your head or some different ideas or a new idea. Oh, I didn't think about it this way, and that's making you think of something else. That's the biggest thing. We'll go into some of these seminars and these different lessons like this as well, is taking the most out of it, making the most out of it, and staying active in it. That way you can really squeeze every ounce of juice out of this lesson and out of everything that I have for you guys. I'm laying it all out on the table. I want to make sure you guys are succeeding, excelling, and growing. And this is where it starts. This is where it happens. And this is how you build relationships. You need to become aware of every single person that you're talking to and then get engaged with them. Light engagement is how we start this. Again, we went over this. There's plenty of other ways to do this as well. If it's in person, the biggest thing that you guys can do is just go up to them, compliment them, and just start engaging in the conversation. We covered that a little bit in the previous modules, and we're going to cover some career fairs and different events later. This is specifically targeting towards LinkedIn. So this is how we get stages 1 and 2. Next is going to be conversation, right? So now this is where you want to really be a little bit unique. We talked about the selling pen example in some previous modules where, if you're trying to sell a pen to someone, and we equated this to going to a career fair, that instead of just trying to sell all the features and the benefits and the different things like that, what you should be doing is just getting to know the person and building a connection. Then when you have the connection, you can ask for something later on. Always remember what we talked about, jab, jab, punch. And that's what we're doing here, but we're really just breaking down the ladder. Okay, so stage 3, conversation. Introduce yourself, ask thoughtful questions, respect their time, show interest, not desperation. And you show not desperation by not caring if they're going to give you an offer or not. We're there, and our goal is to just make their day better. If our goal is to make their day better, be remembered, and have a connection and a relationship, that's it. It's not to get an interview. It's not to get a position. That's the end goal later on, right? That's just our life, and that's our goals, and that's our dreams, and that's cool. But that doesn't mean we need to put all that pressure on someone. We're there to just make them happy. And if we make them happy, and then we just, show interest to them, actively listen, like we talked about yesterday, acknowledge things that they talk about without just jumping into a different question. If you guys are talking with them and conversating with them, and you just skip over something important that they talked about, like maybe they have a child and they talked about one of their birthdays or something, and then you just completely skip that, then ask them something about their engineering experience, that's not good, right? So make sure you acknowledge, we covered that in previous modules, but it is really apparent here in conversation as well. Typically, this will be through LinkedIn messaging, where you guys need to just introduce yourself and ask some thoughtful questions. Don't make it generic. Don't make it basic. Maybe ask ChatGPT. I'm a fan of using ChatGPT for sure, but you need to have a personal touch. Maybe you just send them a voice note as well. That can work, because then that's real and that's you, and it's authentic and it's you. Then that gives you moral authority because you were authentic about it by sending them a personal thing instead of just typing it in the ChatGPT. So conversation, be authentic, follow these steps. That is stage 3. Now, stage 4 and 5, ongoing mentor. So now that we started a conversation, we did jab, jab, right? That's where we started doing a jab, jab, and we just got them warmed up, light engagement. This could be over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, where we start lightly engaging with them on LinkedIn, etc. Then we're sending them a message after a week. And now after maybe 2 weeks or whatever the case is, maybe 3 or 4, however long we're tracking this, then this is where we start getting into an ongoing relationship, because we're following up with them. And then this can be when they become a mentor. Okay. So you can update them on wins. You can thank them for help. Keep learning, earn the relationship, don't force it. The biggest thing that you guys can really do here is when you guys are looking to reach out with engineers, recruiters, or other people, what you can do is really focus on just building this relationship. And then, one second, guys, we got our guest speaker. They're coming soon. They're on the way. They're stuck in traffic. Don't worry about it, guys. It'll be real soon. Get super excited for this as well, guys. It's going to be an awesome guest speaker. So for this stage 4 and 5, as you guys are developing the relationship by doing the jab, jab, LinkedIn conversation and messaging them, then you guys need to kind of start looking at, okay, well, am I really depositing things into this positive bank with them? And then if we are, and then that can just be updating them on wins, right? Because if they're posting on LinkedIn, they're active and they're engaged in their career, typically you're going to see them do some different things, right? You're going to see them, perform some things, go speak on stages, maybe go get awards, or whatever the case is, whatever they're doing, whatever they're posting, right? And then if you take something from that, learn something from that, apply it, and then share a win with them, that's an immediate relationship building activity, because then they don't even have to talk to you. And then that reinforces them by making them think that they're a leader, because they are, because they're doing good for the world. And then you're noticing that, taking a lesson out of that, then going back, getting a win and applying it and telling them about it. That's just an immediate, awesome relationship building strategy. It's super important. It's super critical. So that's just one thing, right? Thank them for help. If you guys hop on a phone call, whatever the case is, it's just super cool to be able to do this and really just flow through this stages 1 through 5 And again, this is the biggest thing, guys. You need to work everybody through this process. And I promise they're going to wind up helping you out more so than not, instead of just going to them and selling the pen. Okay. So that's stages 4 through 5. Now we're going to get into this new module. So networking Excel sheet, your career CRM. So this is super big, great. You guys need to have a networking Excel sheet. You guys need to have a CRM of some sorts, wherever that may be. If you guys have an Excel sheet or if you guys have an actual CRM, right, that works. And however you guys do this, you guys need to just make sure you're managing your networking relationships somewhere and tracking them. If you're not tracking them and all you're doing is just having like text messages or LinkedIn messages, and you're not really reinforcing the relationship and taking note of where they are, who they are, what they like, what they do, and you're not really focusing on that, then number one, you're not going to remember. But then number two, you're not going to have a place to track that and make sure you're following up appropriately, right? Because that's the whole thing here. We don't want to just be a face. We don't want to just be a name where we follow up for 1 or 2 days or a week, where we want to outlast everybody. And I promise you guys, no matter how many times I say this, people might think this is golden, and people might think it's simple, and people might think that, okay, yeah, this makes sense. This is a way to build actual relationships. But I promise 1 out of 20 people are going to actually do this, or maybe 1 out of 100 even. Typically, you're just not going to be able to do this. It's just hard because you need to outlast, but that's where we win. That's where we form a win. That's where our clients win. That's where you guys win. Everybody's showing up on a Tuesday night before Thanksgiving. You know, you guys are serious about winning, right? So don't just be serious about winning. Show up and do this. Take the action and outlast your competition. If you guys outlast other students, I promise you're going to win. So we're going to get into module 8 here. This is just the CRM that we're going to talk about. So your career CRM, you know, this is the Excel sheet that organizes the entire network system. So you guys can set up the different columns. We already touched on this. This is something I wish I started earlier. So if you don't have one, start it today. Start it today. Post about it. Say, hey, I just made my career CRM. And, you know, don't think about this, because sometimes if you talk to engineers, they might view this as, oh, well, then you're just tracking people as a number, or they might say some negative connotation things. But this is just you actually caring. Right? Think about that. If we're not tracking this, if we're not taking this seriously, if we're not treating our career like a business, then how much do we actually care? Because then we're just going to forget everybody. Then they're going to realize that we don't care. Right? So kind of view that in a different way. If you have some negative viewpoint about this, or, you know, this is a little bit weird. Typically people don't think it's weird, but at the same time, it just depends on how serious you take it. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And the more you're going to be able to help a lot of other people, but also just remember things. Right? Like birthdays, different things about people. This is how you do it. This is the only way to do it. Unless you have photographic memory, then I commend you, and we can talk about that. But, you know, the next thing is going to be action. So we just talked about this, build your CRM. You guys have all interacted with multiple people. I'm sure you guys have had hundreds of people in your life, thousands of people in your life that you've talked to, right? So you can easily add 25 today. I'm not going to pause for you guys to do this now, but I do want you guys to do this, screenshot this, whatever you need to do. This is huge. You guys need to do this. You guys need to take action, build this today. So 25 names, alumni, recruiters, engineers at your target company, student leaders, whoever it is, people you've had classes with. Get these people in the CRM and follow up with them. That can be the next thing too. We already talked about scripts, follow up, and the proper way to do that, and building connections in the 5 C's, right? So if you guys are going to do this, just reach out to them, right? This is the biggest thing. And you can even do this on Thanksgiving and say, you know, hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Great way to break the ice, great way to start your CRM, and great way to start your business. And your business is your career. You need to treat it as such. Okay, guys? If you guys are getting value, drop it in the chat. Just give me a yes. We're going to keep going here. So what your CRM tracks, right? We touched on this briefly and, you know, a good bit, but we're going to talk about your name and role, company, contact info, last interaction, next follow-up, status, cold, warm, hot, right? So all of these things. You can make even more columns as well, where you know them from, etc. Maybe make a note column. That's what I have on mine, where, you know, you talk about if they have kids, what they like, what they don't like, if they drink coffee. All those things are so critical. So you guys really need to take this seriously, and this is what it tracks. If you guys don't have this, again, it's just you're not gonna be able to track it. You're not gonna be able to take things seriously. So this is really huge for you guys to do. Why this works. We already touched on this, but, you know, you can't manage what you don't measure. Super easy, super simple. You guys are gonna realize this in a lot of engineering companies as well. As you guys progress in the industry, as you guys do some bigger and better things, you're gonna realize some teams miss this as well. This is about growing networking and getting your first position and excelling in your internships. That's what we're here to do at Formula One, but you're going to realize this later in your career as well. Despite how big a company you may work for, despite where everything is, there are some gaps, and these gaps are going to be in lots of different areas we're talking about now, both on the technical front, but more so on the people front as well. So again, you can't manage what you don't measure, and there's lots of things that companies don't measure. So if you guys get in this habit of treating your career like a business now, That's going to bleed tenfold into any engineering position you have, any management position that you have. And you can use this time that you're treating your career like a business almost as a resume booster, because you're going to be able to talk about it. And again, a big word that we used earlier is moral authority, And then you can use your moral authority to then go into these conversations, talk about something and the way you've learned, the way you've approached life, and the things that you've learned here at FormaWin or everywhere else. And people are going to listen a lot better because you've produced results from it. And it's just who you are. Right. And who you are by doing all the things we're talking about is someone who takes life seriously and wants to make sure that your business is successful and you lead by example and change the world. That's what this really equates to, guys. This is tactical information of how to set up your CRM, but this also relates back in every opportunity that we have going forward. I want to make sure you guys are tracking that. Super important that you guys really take that to heart. This is the biggest thing, guys. Next is going to be weekly CRM rules. So add 5 new contacts, follow up with 5 warm leads, add notes from every conversation, keep everything updated. So you can easily add 25 leads a week. You guys can add 25 new people a week that you talk to. Because again, I'm sure you guys have thousands of people in your life, right? I would recommend just starting now at 25, the most important, like we talked about. And then from there, add 5 new ones each week. So you're not overcomplicating this, not going crazy, because that's the last thing that you want to do. You don't want to just add in 1,000 people, then you can't even keep track of them. Then you're going to wind up not following this, right? Slow but steady is going to win the race here. Slow but steady. And then, it's going to grow to 1,000, but then at that point, you already kind of exhausted all this and you already reached out to some people. And, be cautious when adding this. Maybe in the Excel sheet, you can manage it in a different way. You can set up some formulas, some different macros, but you can have different columns. And then in those columns, you can have one major page and then, a side page where you add everybody. Then you can make that, an optional contact list, and your primary contact list is where you start adding these 5 each week. And then, if you have 1,000, you want to get everybody in your CRM, then you can do that on that optional tab. So that's just a way to organize it. Feel free to play with it. But the important thing here is to track this and do this each week. We talked about the tracking system Microsoft did last week. Super important. I love the app, and you guys can add this to that and repeat it each week. And that's how you can track it, not have to worry about it, and know that you're progressing forward. All right, guys. So we're going to go into the next module here. So events, career fairs, conferences. So this is huge, guys. Module 9. So, I can't emphasize this enough, right? This is where you get the most networking opportunities. And, in our previous modules and lessons, we had an interview with Vox, and this is something that she talks about. This is something that I talk about as well. I don't necessarily believe in just going out and applying to jobs, right? This is going to be your biggest networking opportunities. But carrying the theme of moral authority, how we just talked about that, moral authority carries into this. And you can't just show up to these events, career fairs, and conferences and expect to have a big giant result and not do the work on the back end. If you're doing the work on the back end and you're able to do everything we're talking about, modules 1 through 9 here, making your CRM, assessing your 5 C's, following up properly, networking properly, going about it with the right intent, doing all of these things, and you're putting in the work to make the person that deserves the position, right? That's why I don't believe in interviews. I don't believe in preparing for interviews, because I'm not trying to prepare to be someone that I'm not. And if you're doing all the work and you know who you are, then that's just going to feed into this, right? But these are the biggest things that are going to get you to your next position. Going to these events, career fairs, and conferences. The more hands you shake, the more money you're going to make, and the more connections and the more leads and the more things that are going to start opening up in your life. So I want you guys to remember that, do that. This is one of the most important modules, but it's where you need to do everything in here. It can't just be one thing. If you take one thing and apply it, perfect. But you guys should be looking at this holistically and saying, okay, if I do all of these modules, all of these lessons, then this is going to feed into everything that I'm doing. Hope you guys are with me. Do that. Put ones in the chat if you guys are with me. I definitely want to make sure you guys are staying active and you guys are really paying attention. So I love, I love all the engagement. Keep up the good work, guys. So you guys may think, action, attend one event this month. Depending on the month you're watching this, depending on where we're at, this might be easier, it might be harder, but it's still all the same. Attend one event this month. Maybe it's not engineering specific. Maybe it's a networking event that you find on Google Calendar or Eventbrite. We'll link some down in the description, but there's so many different places to find events. So I want you guys to pick one: career fair, engineering conference, club meeting, industry workshop, wherever it is. Just go. If you can go to one a week, perfect. But your goal here is just going to be go to one a month, right? You guys can spend some time right now looking up on Google, finding some different places, some different interactions, some different events, and just make sure you go to one, because practice is going to make perfect. And then we're going to talk about some next steps here. So before the event, before we go to this event, I want you guys to really just prepare yourselves, right? If you go into an event blind, that's okay, right? I'd rather you hit 10 events, go in blind to the events than hit one and only prepare for it well. Something we talked about is treating your career like a business. At some point, quantity has a quality upon its own. So that's really where this can apply, right? So I want you guys to really just process that, be ready for that. But before the event, research your companies, prepare your pitch, bring your resumes, know who you want to meet, and dress professionally. We talked about that yesterday with Vox, but at the same time with researching companies, you guys want to know what companies do. If you're going to a career fair or something and you have a top 5 company list you want to hit, you better know what they're doing. You better know some recent news. You better know some things about them. But at the same time, I wouldn't stress about every little thing in the company because engineers typically aren't acquainted with every single detail. So if that's the case, guys, right, I want to make sure you guys are aware of that so you're not stressing out because they might not know everything either. They might just stay up to date with what they're working on. They might have an inside resource where they can see some different projects and different things they're working on, and they might be up to date with it, but don't think that they're just a news feeder and they know every little thing about the company, right? Depending on the size of it. Because if you go to a small company and you meet the CEO, then that's going to make all the difference as well, right? So prepare your pitch. This is the next thing as well. Again, this is kind of what we talked about with selling the pen, but you guys definitely want to make sure you guys are selling yourself appropriately. Prepare your pitch, and the way that you can do this, I tell everybody go do this. Go to a coffee shop right before the event and go talk to 2 new people. Tell them about yourself, get connected with them. Why not? And that's going to warm you up, get you ready, and then you can go in there and just go ahead, right? Talk about yourself, talk about your goals, talk about your life, talk about your dreams. There's no shame in talking about your personal life when you kind of go to these things because you want to prepare to talk about that because personal life is important. Personal life is where all this stuff kind of meets full circle, right? Because if we're not talking about personal life and it's just about work, then people aren't going to connect with you either, right? And people want to connect with you. It's all about human connection. And that's how you're going to really make the most out of these events. So make sure you do that. And bring your resumes. I like making a portfolio. I like getting a folder, a nice fancy folder, or maybe a nice fancy piece of paper and printing resumes on that. Whatever works for you. But you guys definitely need to bring your resumes and do this, okay? And then next thing is knowing who you want to meet. So this can be really ranging, right? You might see some people post about an event if it's a big event on LinkedIn or Google. You might see some people saying that they're going to show up. Then you have a chance to connect with them beforehand, but then you know exactly who you want to meet. And then if you write down their name and you have a game plan that you're really tracking, and then you go up to them and say, oh, hey, yeah, no, I wanted to talk with you. Not a lot of students are doing that. Not a lot of students are going into this super prepared and they're saying, okay, cool. Like I have a note sheet with everything that I want to, talk to you about and, questions written down. And, not a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people think about doing that and they might scribble some notes, but they're not really going at it professionally. And if you go at it professionally and you're proud and happy to show them the piece of paper you're working off of, that's going to go a long way, right? And then, dressing professionally, make sure you guys are going and showing up the way you want to be treated. So during the event, introduce yourself confidently. We talked about this, you guys just need to go in and have a big presence. And that's going to come from all the work that you're doing beforehand. During the event, this is your time to shine. This shouldn't be stressful season. This should just be you going in there and running on autopilot. That's typically the way I like to think about it when I go to an event. I can't stress about, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? It's just, okay, me going in autopilot because all the work from beforehand, that's shaping up to be what this event is going to be about. So that's the biggest thing for you guys to think about as well. Introduce yourselves confidently, ask questions, collect contacts, take notes, be memorable, not generic. Another thing in here is I want you guys to take pictures with everyone you meet. Super easy, super simple. Just introduce yourself, right? Get the questions, get the contact, get everything. And, the jab, punch scenario we're talking about earlier where we warm them up, and then do a big ask. That big ask is not going to happen here. That big ask is going to happen later on, right? Again, we don't want to be a number. We want to be remembered. So if we get a picture with them, we get their contact information, and we didn't just upfront say, hey, I need an interview right now, then that's going to go a long way because everyone else might be just trying to shoot their shot because they're just trying to shoot their shot. Some people might get lucky. Some people might not get lucky. But at the same time, if we're doing this from a different perspective and we're saying, hey, I'm here to make relationships, that's going to go such a long way. So make sure you guys are thinking about that, taking notes on that, and you guys are just going to these events properly, right? You guys want to make sure you're making connections. You take notes after every interaction you have with everybody. You don't want to go talk with someone and be like, okay, cool, I got their number, I got their contact, great. Okay, next person. Because then you're just going to forget everything you just talked about with them, right? You can go back, take notes, sit down, pause. I'd rather you guys talk to 10 new people at an event, take notes on all of them and remember them, than talk to 30 people and sometimes you're not going to remember everything about them. I am a big fan of quantity over quality, but sometimes you can do them both. There's some different scenarios that you need to measure with that. It's going to range on your personality, right? We can talk about that more in depth, but that's just something to consider here. Make sure you don't just make the connection meaningless. If you guys can just go take some notes really quick on what they are, or maybe, write on their business card, whatever it works, for you guys to remember exactly who they are, do that. Okay. So that's the biggest thing during the event. Then we're going to talk about post-event. So after the event, we already talked about a lot of follow-up strategy, but these are just some things that are going to loop back. First thing you need to do the second you get home, add all the contacts to your CRM. What are you going to do? Add all the contacts to your CRM, right? Continue relationships, follow up with them, shoot them an email, shoot them a video message. That's another thing that a lot of people do because everyone is concerned about staying professional. If you just record yourself sending a video message and you're talking with them, like a human, and you're sending a professional video message, it's not something like awkward and weird, then that's going to go a long way. Especially if you're dressed up in another suit or another professional business attire the next day, then that just shows, oh, hey, they're not in the same business attire. They're sending me a video. That means they're personable, professional, and I remembered everything about them, and they're super tactical, and they have a lot of good information, a lot of good value to offer. That's where things come full circle. And then the second they see that video, they're going to connect with you a lot more. So that's a great way to follow up, but make sure you follow up regardless, depending if you're comfortable with that or not. But I highly recommend you do that. So next thing, track the opportunities that are created. Track what's going on. What did they say at the event? Did they say, oh yeah, we're interviewing at this time of year? Or are they saying, we're doing interviews now? Or did they say something about connecting you with someone? Typically, that's what people are there for. They're always looking to connect and make some things happen, right? So you want to remember that kind of stuff, but also track the different opportunities that are present, available, what that person did, and what these things can offer. So this might be a different column in your CRM, but you need to make sure you're tracking this and do this after every single event, no matter how big, how small, or whatever the case is. Okay, guys? Getting up to Module 10, follow-up mastery, guys. So we talked a little bit about this, but we're going to really go a lot more in depth here. So most students lose opportunities because they don't follow up, okay? So I want you guys to really follow up with some people today. This is another big thing. We talked about this a little bit, but follow up with some 5 people now that you have the CRM. And, it's always good to do more. It's always good to go crazy and just follow up with everybody, right? If you guys followed up and took some action from yesterday, I want you guys to follow up with 5 new people today. So make sure you guys do that. Recruiters, alumni, company engineers, event contacts, previous conversations, right? But now you have this CRM, so you guys can take some time, label them out, really pinpoint this, and follow up with them. Okay, guys? So this is the follow-up structure, right? Thank them for the last time you talked with them, reference your last conversation, share a quick update, and ask one clear question. So this is a good, easy structure for you guys to kind of just manipulate the situation and just make sure you guys are doing it from a good intent and a good perspective, right? If you guys just go at this and you guys remember who the person is, say, hey, thank you so much for talking at the event. Would love to get in contact with you. I remember some things we talked about from last time. I found them really interesting. And then share a quick update with yourself that you're seeking you're seeking interviews, you're applying some different jobs, you've heard back from some different companies, but you're looking to explore. And then ask one clear question. This one clear question could be you saying, hey, I'd love to hop on a call with you. So the big thing here as well, because this applies with what we were saying with the 5 stages that we talked about last time. But the biggest thing here that you guys can really focus on and do is saying, okay, cool, jab, jab, I'm adding value. I remember them. I'm following up with them. Not a lot of people are going to follow up and outlast them like you are, right? So if you're doing that and you're putting this into perspective, then we're saying, okay, now we have the right to ask them. So we're going to punch. And this punch is hopping on a call with them because that's their time. And, that's just something that we're building up because you earn this by being a good person and showing you're coachable by taking some action, thanking them, doing all these things, light engagement, awareness, that's all the things that we just talked about, right? And then this is how you follow up with them, even though if you're in person. While you're in person, make sure you compliment them. All this shouldn't feel awkward. By the point you get to this, if you feel awkward about asking to hop on a call, maybe I would look at what you're doing wrong and kind of make an adjustment based off of that. So that's something I would love for you guys to do, right? So make sure you guys follow up clearly and you guys are doing this properly. When to follow up, right? This is key timing, guys. This is key timing for when to follow up. You don't want to follow up in a wrong situation. If someone was just in a car accident, or you remember that they mentioned that, or there was just a bad timing, or they said, okay, yeah, we have big projects that are coming up between the next 2 weeks, probably after that time frame, I'll be able to chat a little bit more. You don't want to follow up during that time, right? You don't want to follow up when they're busy or they're expecting a lot of feedback, right? Typically 24 hours after an event, everybody's emailing them back. Everybody's going crazy, right? So I would suggest sending an email, but then afterwards, I would send a video after maybe 3 to 5 days because not a lot of people are going to do that with 2 points of contact. And then they're seeing that you followed up, but you also made a video, and this video is going to be a little bit more in depth and a lot more personable, because they're not going to respond to every email within 24 hours because they probably have a lot if they're at a career fair and they just reached out to everybody and they're seeing all these things, right? So if you do that, then you're going to be able to really make an impression on them. Now, next, after a win. So after a win, what this means for you is after you get a win or after you see them getting a win on LinkedIn or something along those lines, right? Because then that's just going to breed success, and people are attracted to success and winning and, you know, just being around people that are doing some awesome things. So if you're one of those people that are doing some awesome things and you're able to put that in perspective and share that with people, people are going to be happy about it, right? And you want to be around people that are winning. You want to be around people that are successful. This is going to be a magnetic attraction for you, with them looking into you and saying, wow, you know, there's something really practical here that's really awesome. So if you guys are able to make that connection and follow up at appropriate times like that, perfect. I would still follow up with everybody even after you get a position. That's a big thing too. This doesn't stop, guys. This is not something that we're just doing today and tomorrow, and then once we get a position, we're done. This is something we're doing for the rest of our lives. Maybe we can slow the follow-up roll down because we have a position. But again, what's the next position? What's our goals in life? What's the next thing we're going to be focusing on? So think about that as we're approaching all these conversations and we're really just going through all this. So I want to make sure you guys are really paying attention to that, okay? Next is going to be a monthly check-in. This is something I've done with mentors of mine and different coaches where, you know, you just check in, send them a check-in. It doesn't have to be warranted. They didn't have to ask for it. It doesn't have to be something specific. Just check in with them each month. Shoot them a text, send them a video saying, hey, you know, this is what's been happening. These are the things I've been working on. Thank you so much for all your help. And keep checking in, keep checking in, keep checking in. Because at some point, if you're still struggling, they're going to help you out. So that's another big thing to do, because it's just showing you're active and you want to build a relationship with them. But then you also want to make sure you're asking thoughtful questions and asking them maybe how their kids are or whatever the situation is, right? So that's awesome. These are just some different times to follow up. You guys can probably find some different times like that. But the biggest key takeaway here is you want to be strategic. So these are some follow-up examples. We've talked about this, right? We talked about sending a video. We talked about being super detailed with that. But these are just some simple follow-up examples you guys can do. So this might be something that you text over to them. This might be something you email over to them. But you want to make sure you're consistent. You're able to track this, because this is another metric, right? You want to be personable, but you still want to have somewhat of a similar system between people so you can measure the effectiveness of it. And then, you know, there's not going to always be a one-size-fits-all. So sometimes you need to be creative, but I would still just have some things ready to go so you're not having to overthink it. Because my goal for you guys is to be able to have emails coming in, LinkedIn messages coming in where you guys have a lot of volume. So I want to make sure that this is easy for you guys to manage. So these are just some quick examples. If you guys have done some stuff in the past or you guys are able to send quick voice notes, that's fine too. But the goal here is to make this streamlined and an automated, awesome process, but still personable, right? So these are just some quick examples for you guys. Now, your 30-day networking sprint. So this is going to be huge for you guys. So this is going to be requiring some massive action. So we're going to really get started on this module 11, and this will be the final module. So your 30-day networking sprint. So this is something you guys can revisit each month. That's what I would recommend you do, or maybe every 2 months, every quarter. Again, treat your career like a business. This is something you need to do forever. When you guys start your positions, that's great. But, you know, even more so than that, once you guys get started in this stuff or beforehand, you guys really need to be hammering this, right? And this is a good way to produce some quick results for yourself. Because once you start a new position or something, you might get stagnant or you might want to look for new opportunities. So this is an easy way to say, okay, cool. This is the 411 30-day networking sprint. I can just go in, rock this, and knock this out. So again, make sure you guys are taking notes. This is going to be super valuable information that you guys are going to want to make sure you guys are paying attention to. Make sure you guys are taking notes on all of this. You guys are going to be able to rewatch this, but let's go on ahead and get into it. So start your sprint today. I'm sure you guys didn't just show up here or watch this video to just get some information. I'm sure you guys wanted to actually make a change. So we already talked a lot about some different actions, but I want you guys to start this, right? So this can start with 20 messages a day, 1 call a week, weekly resume updates, weekly recruiter outreach. A good measurement I like to use is saying, okay, if all of this is resulting in 1 call a week that I have with a new mentor, that's an easy way to measure this, because if it's a new mentor I'm calling each week, I'm still building relationships with my previous mentors. So maybe we can measure that and say, okay, I'm having relationship calls maybe 3 to 5 times a week, because all this stuff is super important. You want to make sure you take action on everything that they talk about. But this is a good, you know, easy way to get started and easy metrics to set up for yourself. But that's a good way that you guys just need to get started. Biggest thing. Weeks 1 to 2, build momentum. So everything we talked about, I want you guys to go back, watch, take some notes, apply it, figure out some gaps, maybe post in our community some different things. A bunch of our students are happy to help you out. But make sure you set up your CRM, reach out daily, and build your LinkedIn presence and personal brand. We talked about personal branding, super important. Get your first conversations going. So weeks 1 through 2 should be massive outreach, and that's not something we're going to stop, but massive outreach. And then on the back end, we're improving some things. And then as we're improving some things, such as LinkedIn or personal brand or resume, maybe different postings, maybe going out and networking, building some skills, building that moral authority we're talking about. Then as we approach the calls that are going to be coming our way, we're really just ready to go for action, right? Think about this as studying for an exam 1 to 2 weeks before, then we're going to then we're going to hop on the exam. And that's where we don't have to prepare differently, right? Because we're already preparing, but what we're doing to prepare is just producing the results, which are getting the calls. And if we're doing all this stuff, it's just going to make such an awesome formula. This is where you guys' life changed forever. So this is going to be weeks 1 through 2. And weeks 3 through 4, scale output. So this is the next thing, guys, right? Double your outreach, deepen relationships, attend at least one event, follow up aggressively. We talked a lot about all this stuff already, but the biggest thing here, that now that we have a system down, we have the CRM set up, we know our follow-ups, we know our messages, we know what works. Because at this point, if you're messaging on LinkedIn, you're seeing some people respond back out to you. You're able to really manage this and say, okay, cool, this is working. This is developing into a relationship. This is developing into another call I'm going to take. Now you have a system. Now you have a process that works for you. And if you're able to really do that, now we can scale that, right? What gaps can I cut out? What are some good times and days that I can do this? What has worked in the past? Okay, cool. Now I'm going to double down on that, right? So this is really important for you guys, because whatever's working, make sure you're doubling down. Everyone is going to have a different approach. Some people are going to be able to reach out on LinkedIn a lot easier. Some people are going to be able to network in person a lot easier. Whatever works for you, identify that, okay? Sprint rules. So no 0 days. You can't do nothing. Every single day needs to involve some form of reach out, some form of call, whatever works, right? Document everything. Make sure you guys are documenting all of these things. Again, I can't stress that enough, especially in your careers. You know, as you guys are doing projects, take pictures of your projects and everything, but especially with networking, remember every little detail about every single person, because that's going to go a long way, and put that in your CRM. Stay consistent, review your weekly wins, and adjust output as needed. So if your output is producing an awesome result and you say every 100 connections or every 100 messages that I make, I'm able to get 20 calls out of it. Well, maybe we just manage that and make the most out of those calls, and we don't do 200 messages, right? Or there's just a way we need to constantly refine it and look at it, but don't spend too much time doing that. Just do that each week after you do the output, so that way we have something to work with and measure, right? The biggest thing is to stay consistent with this, guys, because you guys are going to get some fast wins with this, I promise. You guys are going to get some incredible, awesome wins. Things are going to start floating your way, new opportunities, things that are going to be approaching, and you guys are going to get some awesome things that are going to be rocking and rolling. But then don't stop it. Do not stop doing this. You guys need to keep this up, okay? So just continue this no matter what, and that's the biggest thing, guys. So that really wraps everything up for you guys. You know, this was just an awesome 11 module kind of course that we went through, lots of different things. We talked about this yesterday, our school community. We're going to use some private Q&A with our next guest speaker in there again as well. So we're going to get that all set up, and they're going to be coming in here within the next 10 minutes. So I want to open this time up for some Q&A. We'll probably just keep this in the background for now, going through this. And, you know, in the next 10 minutes, I want you guys to go on ahead and develop your CRM. This has been some awesome information. Today was a little bit of a quicker day, but there's a lot of information you guys still need to take action on, right? Yesterday, we sent out some gratitude messages. We sent out some connections. We improved our personal brand. We improved some different aspects of our lives and our business, right? And then as we do that today is all about outreach, because everything should be really improved. If you guys want to take some time right now, don't just make this another webinar. Don't make this just another lesson. Make this a time where we're saying, okay, this we're improving. We're getting some things going. It's about to be Thanksgiving, but I'm already winning so much more than the people that are already kind of checked out for the week, right? There's a lot of people that are checked out for the week. And this is the season. This is the time where people develop and grow faster. So I want to make sure you guys are really accessing that and really utilizing that. So with that said, I want you guys to take a moment. Feel free to hop in the school community, because again, like, this is a super awesome time for you guys to ask some questions and get a really deep dive into it with our next guest speaker, Arnold Morales. They're going to be coming shortly, but for now, make your CRM, guys. So I'm going to put that in the chat here, and then I'm going to give you guys a countdown between now and whenever our guest speaker's coming. So stay tuned for the next 10 minutes. Keep rocking, keep cruising. It's been an honor, guys. Stay tuned.
I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down. I get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
Michael DeLay.
Win for over 4 months
Part
now.
of the Formal Win community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
I get down. get down.
If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart. If it's written in the stars, close your eyes and listen to the rhythm of your heart.
I get down.
Former win for over 4 months
Part
now.
of the Formal Win community for a couple months now.
I just got my first internship.
Just landed my first internship.
Biggest thing I want you guys to do is take one thing away from today, and make sure you implement it, change your life.
100% directly resulted in me getting an internship offer.
All right, guys, we're about to get started. We're going to welcome in Arnold, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome in, Arnold. There he is.
Hello, how's it going?
How's it going, man? It's good to see you. Good to hear from you. It's always a pleasure. Only speak great things about you. I love everything you're doing.
Appreciate it.
Just for the audience, I mean, we've done an interview beforehand. I love always talking to you. You help hundreds of engineers, and I mean, it's really great work because not a lot of people are doing this in the industry. Not a lot of people go out there, put themselves out there, and go and do this stuff. So I want you to introduce yourself because I can't do it any better because you're just an awesome dad. You're an awesome person, awesome leader, awesome manager, and I've seen all the growth that you've had over the years. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for the people?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm excited. And holidays are coming up, so everybody's has a lot to do. So everyone on the call, I'm impressed of you guys taking the time during these busy times to improve yourself. Kudos to everyone that's listening in. So yeah, Arnold Morales. I'm in my day job. I am a manager at Boeing. Worked several different projects there, commercial airplanes, military airplanes, a lot of cool things. And then on the side, I do LinkedIn content, so create content for specifically engineers mostly as a target, but honestly, the advice is for anyone else. So it's around landing your dream job, getting promoted, and becoming layoff proof. So a lot of areas around there around that self development. And then I guess outside of those two, when I'm not doing that, I am a dad. I have a 6-year-old and a 10-month baby, a girl and a boy, and then also pretty involved with my local church and also pretty involved with some nonprofits. I'm on the board for a nonprofit and do a lot of cool stuff there.
Awesome, Arnold. I love it. Yeah, just like we were saying, I love the mission you're doing. I love all the work you're doing, and just make you the leader that you are and the great dad that you are. So again, for everybody watching, you guys have an awesome leader to ask some questions to a little bit later on. So without further ado, the key and the topic here is networking, right? So I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about that. We're going to probably go down a rabbit hole, but my first question for you is, what was your first networking step in your journey? And, again, for everybody, go watch our first interview. We go over the whole thing in detail of your whole story, but talking about maybe a recent networking step or maybe a first networking step, what were some networking moves that you've made?
Yeah, no, I think the first step I tell everybody is just go do it. It's going to be uncomfortable for everyone. If you feel it's awkward to go meet people you don't know, they feel the same way. And the only way you get good at it, where people think they're good at it, but it's like you just do it over and over again to a point where it just feels comfortable. The weird awkwardness just feels normal. And then all of you calling in, you've probably had something in your life where you felt it was weird at the beginning, but then you did it over and over again, and then you got good at it. And that's, I think, the big thing with networking is just being brave enough to do the first one, to go out there, going to different events. I think that's the biggest one. If anyone is affiliated to like an organization or something, going to those type of events, I think that's a good first places you feel comfortable with, or going with a friend. I think really just going somewhere, but making sure you're at the networking event, not just to talk to your friend, but you go out, meet new people. I actually have a rule every time I do now a networking type thing, or a leadership conference, or a capability strategic planning meeting, and we have tables. I don't sit with people that I know, even if it's my boss. I told my boss one of those things. I'm like, hey, I have a rule. Whenever we're out networking stuff, I don't sit with people I know. So see you later. And he's like, all right, see ya. So I honestly, I've just done it so often now that it doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. So I guess the first step is just really go network, and you'll get better and better after time, right? And then it's networking really like, okay, awkward conversation, whatever, then go to the next person, and then you go to the next person. You just keep on trying, and then you'll find some people that you really click with, and those will become friends, mentors, advocates in the future. So just go out there.
Awesome. Now, kind of going back with your journey too, right? I mean, I love everything you just said because it's the truth, right? If you feel awkward doing it, number one, you just need to get practice. You just need to put yourself out there. And that resonates everything that you said. And, just like training a muscle, now it's become a muscle for you. So I love that. And everybody, I'm sure, desires to get to that stage. So, just starting out maybe for yourself, what were some initial networking moves that you made to get you closer to your goals?
Yeah, I think it all starts, I guess, for me, in college, going to those organizations. I know, like, or just talking to my classmates. I think really in community college, back in community college, it really started with talking to my classmates and just eating lunch with them at the cafeteria between two classes. And we were bored, and we were like, hey, what do we do? So I started talking to these two guys, and then I was like, hey, we should do some engineering type stuff since we have all this free time between these two classes. And they're like, hey, let's go look at some engineer organizations. And there wasn't one. So we started the first one. And one of the guys was laughing. He's like, oh, sure, we're going to go start one. I was like, let's start one. And one of the other guys was like, yeah, Chris Jackson. He was like, yeah, let's just do it. So we started the first engineering society in the community college I was at. And that just skyrocketed my entire career, both in college and then at work. That mentality of let's go network, let's go build a community. And if it's not there, then let's go build something. I think that one decision probably skyrocketed my entire career, including like getting full ride scholarships when I went to the big college, and then even like getting my jobs, and then even promotions. Now it's always the same thing. It's always me putting myself out there. And if there's something that I feel needs to exist that doesn't exist, then I'll just start it.
I love it, Arnold. And I mean, that's really big for everybody, right? Because everybody wants to be an engineer, and everybody wants to be creative, and everybody wants to change the world. But not a lot of people are willing to take action like yourself. So with that said, when you were just first starting out, because I definitely want to touch on some of your recent promotions for sure, but at the same time, when you were just starting that engineering society and engineering club, what were some of the first things that you did to start networking to, number one, get some member engagement, but then also to get maybe some, industry leaders to come in? Why don't you touch on a little bit of that?
Yeah, no, for sure. The first thing we thought about was, okay, we're going to build an organization. What are we going to do? And then in reality, it was just us trying to figure out the stuff we wanted to know. So it was like, hey, I have no network. I grew up in Central America, so I don't know anyone in the US that's not my family members, that none of them are engineers. So it was like, hey, we need to talk to engineers. We need to get their perspective. So we started Meet an Engineer Day. And the way we got our first speakers was we asked our teachers. We didn't know who to ask. So we asked our teacher, like, hey, do you know any engineers? I later found out that all the engineers they pulled from their list was all the people on the advisory council, because I ended up later becoming part of the advisory council. And I was like, wait a minute, all my speakers are at this advisory council. So I think we asked our professors, like, hey, do you guys know any engineers? And then one person in the club knew an engineer, and it was something that was common. Everybody else wanted to go hear from engineers. So the first event just had a lot of people at it, like 20, 30 people, because it was something that didn't exist that really people needed. Then we started doing like different type of projects that we wanted to get involved with, and then just started going with whatever we thought was needed. So I think it's a combination of what really is needed for you, and then just going out and asking, right? So like in our case, we didn't know any professor or any engineer, so we asked our professors. Yeah.
Awesome.
And actually, the president of our college, of our community college, was an engineer, so we actually invited him also as a guest speaker. So that was cool.
Perfect. Yeah, you see, in like it's just super easy and super simple, but you were willing to put yourself out there and take the chance, and it paid off tremendously. So I mean, I definitely commend you. Love that. And, for everybody watching, maybe you're part of a school that has some formal societies and some clubs already, but maybe this is your chance to start one, right? And that's going to skyrocket all networking situations. Like for me, when I was in AI, that kind of made the opportunity to start talking with engineers like, oh, hey, you want to come speak at the club? Oh, hey, you want to come speak at the club?
Yep.
Then you're able to leverage that. So, I mean, for you, though, starting,
Sure.
I mean, I can only imagine, right? And that's where you are today. So,
And then I went to one of Purdue's sister schools at the time, one of Purdue University's smaller schools, IUPUI, no longer exists, by the way. Got dismantled, so that's kind of interesting. My bachelor's degree school got dismantled. They just split it. Like it used to be IU and joined with Purdue University Indianapolis. Now they just split. Now there's a IU campus and a Purdue Indianapolis campus. But when I moved there, they had a Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. So I was like, hey, let me go join the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. But since that was one of the smaller schools, they didn't have an aerospace program. So guess what I did? I started the first AIAA. I was the vice president for the first AIAA in that sister school of Purdue. So it was like starting I was like, okay, I've already done it in Ivy Tech Community College. I'll do it again here. In that case, I was just busy. So the president and everybody else kind of did a lot of the stuff, and I was kind of more of a strategic mentoring and trying to get us in there. So yeah, that's how my AIAA story. And now I like AIAA and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I mean, I almost think that's a whole strategy on its own. Everybody's concerned about finding a position and getting an internship and networking. Well, just look for a school to go to that doesn't have anything set up and go set it up. That I mean, that's one way to do it as well.
Yeah, or just even if the schools already have everything set up, just go join. And like the big thing is leading something. And you don't have to be the president of the organization. All you need to do is lead a effort. That's like the biggest thing I tell people is like, you don't have to go and do all this above and beyond. As long as you're leading an effort, you can show leadership skills. So that helps a lot in resumes and then and then also just networking, meeting all these people, especially like alumni from your school. Those people usually love to help because they were in your same spot in the past.
Yep. 1,000%. I love it. So let's kind of shift a little bit. I mean, then we'll come back to some advice and some different questions, but I want to shift into maybe some recent promotions, right? Because that stuff doesn't just happen overnight. I'm sure you did some steps led by example, took leadership roles and did awesome to kind of get you to where you are now. But were there any networking situations or kind of how did you shape up to get there?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think my promotions ever came from networking. I think they came more from performance and doing good or applying to a role. I think those were the ways that I got promotions. But I got into those roles for those promotions through networking because I was in a rotation program. So as a rotation program, I was always needing to look for my next rotation. So I was always talking to people, learning about their roles and trying to find where I was going to go. And then started to and then also like mentors, right? So I had a bunch of, actually one of the positions was one of my mentors. I looked at our company and they had mentoring programs. So I just went to look for mentors in the mentoring program. It was weird, but then I just got used to it. And I think the combination of mentors and performance really helped me be in the right spot for promotions. And then like right now, I've been talking to my leadership team, to like my mentors around, hey, what is my development plan? Right now, I'm in a new program and trying to really do the best I can, but also what is the next step? So I'm already starting to think about what is the next step. And then to be clear, right, it's good to know where you want to go and to have the steps and be growing towards that. But if you're not performing in the moment, then none of it is useful. So I try to make sure I think about that strategic planning, but also my focus always on the performance on the task at hand.
Exactly. That's something that I commend you for, right? Because that just goes back to under promising and over delivering. So, I mean, I love what you do with that because it just speaks volumes, right? That's how you got where you are. And, that's one of the biggest lessons to learn too, because a lot of people, I've struggled with this in the past where, I overpromised and then under delivered, and then you build a bad relationship and you build a bad, just kind of brand for yourself. And then that's not going to help you out in the future, right? So you guys need to make sure you guys lock that down. If that's an issue for you, obviously you need to fix that. So thank you for sharing that because it's an awesome piece of advice because that's how you really grow and exceed. So I love that. Let's transition to talk a little bit into maybe some students, how they approach networking at career fairs, because I know that you go to a lot of career fairs and you talk to a lot of students and you've been, around the block. So you've seen all shapes and forms of different people interacting different ways. And this whole webinar was us kind of talking about the secrets to networking and how to make yourself go out there and just be the best that you can. Right. So I would love for you to walk through some examples with us of a bad student and a good student. That a bad student, the way that they showed up to network, that might be you know, not easily thought about or seen, and they, maybe they thought they were doing good, and other people would think, okay, well, they probably did good, but like it didn't wind up too well. Versus a good student that had an awesome networking situation that led to some awesome things, right? So if you can give us 2 case studies, let us know.
Yeah, no, I think usually the best that I've seen is usually the first ones that are in the line. I've always noticed that at career fairs, the more the line gets smaller, the less quality people I get. Or like the biggest thing, right, for me is there is a lot of smart people out there. And then like the companies that I work, Northrop, Boeing, they always have huge lines. So we're gonna find great talent, no matter what. But I think the biggest thing is finding talent that's passionate about the industry. I think that's one of the big things that I look for. I look for, hey, there's gonna be a bunch that are gonna be qualified, but then I'm also looking for that passion for the industry, that leadership traits, that traits around teamwork and making sure that it's someone that doesn't just care about themselves but also works well with others. I think I look at that, and then the biggest thing that I would say is the first 10, 15 seconds really is make or break. And making sure those first 20 seconds is you explaining why you're the perfect fit for that position. Not you giving a life summary and everything. It's more of targeting and making sure you're at the line and you're showing like, hey, if I'm systems engineering is usually the thing that I was at. So I'm not just gonna go to a Boeing line and be like, well, I'm looking for an engineering job. It's like, oh great, which one? Mechanical, structural, stress, like what do you want to do? So finding that target and then being really good candidate in that niche. So for me, it was systems engineering. And like I had a certificate, I had some experience in it, I had done some fun stuff around systems engineering. So when I went to a systems engineering line, it was an easy win for me because I was already qualified for that. So I think it's really finding those targets, niching down on how you can excel and doing really good in that area. And then as soon as you get to a recruiter, talk to them about that. The other thing is like getting the recruiters out of the zone. Like usually, and this happened to me several times where I'm just like a zombie, like, okay, next person, resume, read through it, next person. And like sometimes someone will not give me their resume and they'll talk for a little bit, or they'll ask me something random, or ask me a little bit about myself or something or different, then takes me out of that zone of just zombie mode. But usually I'll get a good candidate and I'll kind of get at myself out of it. But it's usually kind of cool. At least I'll remember those people more. But usually I focus on, hey, does this person does because usually I hire for systems engineering. So for me, it's always like, does this person know what systems engineering is? Have they worked on anything related to it? If not, then go to another line, but not my line.
I love it. Just some big takeaways there, right? And this is something that I struggle with because I didn't know about what the industry roles actually included. So maybe that's a way for everybody watching and listening, right? Learn about what the industry roles are. And the industry roles are not what the degrees are. There's roles besides just what the degrees are. So have you seen a lot of students that walk up and they don't really know, and they say, oh, well, what's what's structural engineering, right?
Yeah,
Like,
most of them. Yeah.
exactly.
Most freshmen and sophomore that they don't know. Now once you start getting to your junior and seniors when you're learning that type of stuff. But I love seeing freshmen and sophomores at career fairs because like they're practicing their networking at that moment. They're learning right now is like, hey, I should need to go focus on things because I made those mistakes in the past too, but I made them early. That so you don't get to a point where, oh, I'm a junior, I'm a senior, and now I'm looking for a job. Usually that's much harder than, oh, I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I'm starting to build my network, I'm starting to meet these people, and I'll be ready for when I want an internship.
Awesome. And then like that's the biggest thing too, right? So I love that. And then looping back to one other thing that you said, I'm taking notes also, everybody watching, be a master student, and this is what it's about. But the biggest thing that you said was kind of taking you out of the zombie mode, and like a term that I like to call that is pattern interruption. So it's thing for people to just come in, wake you up, and show them that you're person, or show you that they're personal, right? So I love talking about that. That's an awesome thing. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And I really appreciate all these tips, everybody. Make sure you're rewatching this as always, and make sure you're really staying active. Go connect with Arnold after this as well. He's happy to talk with you, connect with you, help you out. And Arnold, thank you so much. I definitely have some more questions here, but is there anything else kind of on your mind based off what we just talked about so far?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing is just that repetition of just trying and learning and from your mistakes. I think that's the biggest thing.
Okay. So then if we take some students that go to networking, right? Have you seen a good follow-up strategy? Have you seen people that, don't follow up and follow up appropriately? What's some typical follow-up strategies that work?
Yeah, I think one, just follow up, right? I think that's the main thing is like most people don't. So just making sure you follow up, I think it's huge. Um, and then not making it where like you're asking these giant questions, making it where it's something quick they can answer, and then following up again if they don't answer. That constant persistence, I think, really helps. A lot of times, like to me, it happens like someone will follow up once or twice, and honestly, there's just so many things in my inbox that I forget. I don't try, but then I was like, oh, later I'll remember. But I think really though, some people just keep on following up. I think there's a lot of resources out there, but I think the biggest thing is making it personal. And kind of that pattern repetition, breaking it that you mentioned, where it's like, hey, if you're going to follow up on LinkedIn, that's usually the easiest way. Go look at those people's profile. Go look at something specific about them that you have in common and tell them, oh, I also was involved with that. That's really cool. Stuff like that will really kind of make you stand out and be different. Finding things you have in common with people and pointing that out, I think it's a really good strategy to use. And I still use it to this day. I reach out to people and I'm like, hey, I noticed you went to Purdue also, and you're in this role. I would love to learn about you. Or hey, I noticed you were involved in CHEP, and I love to learn about this. And they're like, hey, I noticed that you are very active on LinkedIn, so am I, and I'll reach out. And I think building a LinkedIn network is huge too. I think my network has grown to a point where I don't worry about jobs anymore. So that's pretty cool for me.
Yeah.
Job security is something I can sleep at night. I kind of joke with my boss. I'm like, the thing one of my dotted line bosses was like, oh yeah, your boss asked me for feedback on you. I told him, he was joking with me. He's like, I told him you were terrible and that we need to take you off the program to fix it. And I was like, oh please, I'm like, you can't survive without me. And so like I'll joke with him, and I was like, I'll find a job tomorrow. So like I actually feel that way. I actually know that that's true because of that content. Because I have people that reach out to me all the time, or just have a big network now, which is really priceless for me with like sanity and feeling good about being able to not take roles that I don't like or not say yes to things that I don't want.
I mean, it's the most underrated job security. Not even
Oh
about
yeah.
job. It's about, I mean, you built your brand, you have a family, you have a tribe now, and now people reach out to you just like you said. So you don't have to worry about that front, but it also opens you up to new opportunities too. I mean, that's
Mhm.
something about building a brand. And like for you have an awesome big brand, and I really respect everything you built. You're part of so many great organizations, and that's how you really level up for everybody watching. It's not just about, okay, let me find a job and call it a day, right? It's about like, this is our lives. We're proud of this, right? So if we're proud of this and this is our lives, then we should treat it as such. And everything you're doing resembles you taking the most out of it and making the most out of life. So like, I love everything about that. So thank you for doing that. Cause part of our story here. And I mean, for everybody watching, Arnold was one of the first people I reached out to early in my college career. So it's really cool to come full circle. Now we're talking and making all this stuff happen. So I love it. Something I wanted to ask you about was, I'm sure there's going to be something that pops in your head when I say this. What was one of the worst students you've had come up to you?
I specifically have one person that they asked me for feedback, like because I kind of like, oh okay, thank you, apply online, and then they asked me for feedback, and I told them what are the areas that they were missing, and then they were like, oh, so you're telling me blank company doesn't give opportunities out? And I was like, bro, I'm like, you do not see the line? Like, you think we're gonna give every person in the line an opportunity? But I think that was an interesting one where people like get really defensive and like feel offended. Those are the people that like that just throws a bad vibe, and the world is small, and you might run into those people again, and you might say, hey, I don't recommend that person just because of your interactions with them in the past. There's several cases where I've felt people have been kind of rude and stuff, and in the future I kind of say, hey, yeah, I know that person, I don't recommend it, and they don't get a job or they don't get an opportunity because of it. So I think that being rude, I think, is the weirdest one for me. It was, yeah, this person was just really upset because I gave them feedback. I'm like, why you ask me then? Like, why do you want me to give you feedback and then now you're mad?
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of wild. I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of interviews, and I'm sure you had this happen in interviews as well. One time I was doing an interview with some managers, and we had this student that came in and they were going to work in ROTC or go somewhere in the Air Force or something. And they basically came in saying, yeah, I don't really know if I want the internship. I got this lined up. So, yeah, I'm just here. It's like, all right, cool. Like what are we
Yeah.
doing?
You're wasting our time. We're wasting your time. Yeah.
Very
And I'll tell you, I've done that mistake. I am one of those people when and like that's the thing. Like I talk a lot now, but it's like I learned through doing. Like I learned through doing stupid mistakes like that. I was at Lockheed Martin, flew me out for their operational leadership development program. I was in Marietta in Atlanta, interviewing, and they really liked me. And like right at the end of the interview, like Arnold, do you have any questions for me? And one of my stupid questions was, so I think that everything that OLDP is really cool, but I'm a little bit more interested in the engineering leadership development program. And like I could see their face just kind of be like, what? Like at the end of the interview, that was bad. So learn from your mistakes. But yeah, even I've done it and those mistakes, right? But you got to learn from other people. Yeah, I did not get an offer from that position.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it happens. I mean, it happened to me as well. So, I mean, like you live and you learn, and that's why we're here now. The only way to learn
Yeah,
is to, either learn from others or fail fast. I love failing fast. So, I
yeah,
love
exactly. That was actually the first speaker we had at the community college. He talked about failing fast and failing often.
There we go.
And I like that. Yeah.
There we go. So now let's flip the question, right? What was the best student you remember? Or one of them?
Oh man, there's a lot. But I think the one that comes to my mind right now is like my most recent hire.
There you go.
He's actually funny case. He's taking a military leave at work, and he's learning how to be a helicopter pilot. So yeah, for the reserve. So it's pretty cool. I think in that case, it was just person was just so prepared and like knew the topics of what we were hiring for and answered questions very specifically. So I think yeah, he was so good at the interview that I told him, and I actually didn't have approval to go give offers yet. So I was like, hey, be completely honest with you, we don't have approval to give offers yet, but I'm going to save a position on my team for you, and I did. Like 6 months later, he would send me an email every couple of months, like, "Hey Arnold, how's it going? Like, how's that offer coming along?" And I'm like, "Man, I have a position saved for you, I promise. But don't stop looking other places because I want to make sure you get your best option." Um, so yeah, then he ended up joining my team. It was really cool being his manager, and then I ended up going to a different team. But it was cool being his manager for a little bit. Seeing one of those people that from the organizations that I used to be involved with come to my team. It was very different than like because I've hired a lot, but like for other teams, I've never really hired from my own team. And like at the conferences that I attended as a student, usually I'll hire for like interviews online and or other schools, but not for my team specifically. And all the people from my team was mostly job recs that I had, but going to a conference to hire for my team was pretty cool.
Awesome. So what was like the biggest thing? So you said he answered this question specifically and he was kind of really sharp on it. Like what way did he do it differently than you seen on average?
Yeah, I think just being specific and knowing the work that we were doing and knowing what we were looking for and being really targeted on his answers were specific to what we're looking for. So it was kind of easy. Like it was easy for him to sell himself. I didn't really have to do anything. Just okay, yeah, he meets all the requirements. He seems great. We went out later that night. I went out with friends. And then I found him at the bar, so it was funny. after I gave him the interview, the offer, or like I told him, like found him at the bar. I'm like, hey, like that's cool.
That's so funny. Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
all the networking that happens at the conferences in the hotel lobbies and everything. So it was funny. I was
yeah,
like, hey, I was expecting to find you here. I really felt a little shy about it, but yeah, no, and it's cool. Like the other thing, the reason why I'm proud of him specifically is because I was on his team, or like he was on my team, and I saw how good he did. Like he was new and he was killing it. He was doing better than other people that had been there for a couple of years. So just seeing like how good he did, I felt really proud of that hire because I know I did a really good job. The other ones I know I did a good job, but I just never got to see it firsthand. I know they've done great things, but I just never got to see it firsthand. This one, I think I did.
awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, Arnold. I got, one last question, powwow, if you will. So I definitely want to end with, biggest top networking advice for students. But on the flip side, you going back as a student, right? Just give them the quick 2 to 3 minute layout. You as a student, no experience. What are you doing to network appropriately and get to your first position? Shoot.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is realizing that GPA isn't everything. I think as long as you have 3.0 above, 3.5 is amazing. but not really trying to get 3.9. I think that's too much work. So I feel like instead of that the amount of effort you have to go from like 3.5 to 3.9 is just ridiculous. So instead of spending that effort in those classes, um, I would focus on networking and building organizations and doing actual hands-on things like getting part of competitions and projects. I feel like a lot of the theory is great, but you have to actually put it in practice. And I think that's more important than having a really, really high GPA. I still think you need to learn the basics and understand things. But I really think it's more on attitude and being able to apply what you've learned. So I would say that is the main thing I would do. And then in those places, right, you're going to be networking. You're going to be networking with the people in the competitions. You're going to be networking with organizations. So if I could go back as a student, that's the one thing I would do differently. And I was really involved. I was super involved, but I would have got a little bit more involved, and focus a little less on my grades, because I was hyper focused on I needed to get really good grades. For scholarships, it helped, but yeah, I think that would be the main thing. And then I think that I gave my best already. I didn't gatekeep anything to you guys, but I really think the best thing is just starting and just being like the Girl Scout cookies. Remember the Girl Scout cookie girls. They're out there every single day selling Girl Scout cookies. People are rejecting them over and over again. But then the next person that joins, someone says yes, and all you need is that one yes or those two yeses. So I think it's really kind of having that mentality of just smiling every time and going back at it and going again. So I will be having my daughter go to Girl Scout cookie selling so she can learn that resistance and just staying in there and just wait for that one yes, because then all the no's don't matter.
Arnold, thank you so much. Everybody watching, I'm sure you got lots of value. And, I mean, this has been incredible, right? Because this is where today in this interview, in this moment for everybody going through this could be the moment where everything changes and you start treating your life a little bit, going out networking and making every intentional interaction count. Arnold, thank you so much for changing everyone's lives and being part of the mission here. So I really commend you. Thank you so much. And this is going to conclude, guys. So we'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. In our school community, we're going to be doing some Q&A here in a moment. So